Tonight's tale rides the rails of a forgotten era, back when steel, steam, and candlelight carried travelers through the night. Our story is called The Passenger in Car 7, submitted by Gaslightmoon. Chicago, 1924. The night was cold enough to crack iron when John, his wife Sarah, and their 8-year-old son JJ boarded the Midnight Arrow, an overnight sleeper train bound for Detroit. Steam rolled across the platform like crawling fog. Brass lanterns flickered weakly in the wind. Porters whispered stories about Car 7, the last passenger car, half rotten and barely lit. But the family didn't care. They were tired. The boy was excited, and the train was leaving. As they stepped aboard, John noticed something at the far end of the platform. A figure. Tall. Still. Just barely visible in the pitch-black shadows past the caboose. He blinked, and it was gone. Probably just a worker, he muttered. As the train thundered across the dark countryside, the family settled into their small sleeper cabin. Oil lamps cast long, trembling shadows on the walls. Around midnight, John stepped into the hallway for fresh air. The corridor stretched long and empty, except for a shape standing at the opposite end. Motionless, human-shaped, but wrong. He blinked. Then it was gone. He laughed nervously and shook his head. Probably just my imagination, he thought. Later, when Sarah tucked JJ in, her lamp flickered. A silhouette stood just beyond the glass door at the rear of the car. She gasped, opened the door. Nothing. Just the cold. They tried to convince one another it was a shared trick of the eyes, but the human mind knows when it's being watched. At 2:15 a.m., the train halted to refill its water tank. Workers stepped off with lanterns, leaving the passenger cars dim and quiet. The family gathered in their cabin, each pretending not to be afraid. That's when they heard it. A scream. High. Sharp. Ripping through the night from the last carriage. John shot to his feet. Sarah grabbed JJ. They ran. Car 7 was nearly pitch black. Their lantern revealed only fragments. Shattered glass, blood sprayed along the seats, and long drag marks leading straight out the rear door, to the open darkness below. But no body. Passengers panicked. A young woman vanished next, then an elderly man, then the conductor. Gone, silently, as if swallowed whole. The figure no longer hid at the end of the car. It moved now, between the flickers of lantern light. Closer, closer still. Then they realized something terrible. JJ was missing. His small voice carried from outside the train, trembling and terrified. "Mom, Dad, it's chasing me." John and Sarah sprinted off the train, lanterns barely keeping up. They found JJ running for the woods, crying, stumbling. Dozens of passengers followed, desperate to escape the unseen monster that stalked them. But the forest was worse. Dark trunks like skeletal fingers, cold air that muffled footsteps, and behind them, rustling. Something moving through the trees. Fast. One by one, passengers vanished. A woman screamed, cut short as if her breath was stolen mid-air. Soon, the only ones left were John, Sarah, and JJ. Then the train whistle blew. It was leaving. They ran, branches snapping at their clothes, lantern light shaking wildly, the thing behind them growing louder, faster. They didn't dare look back. They could feel it. Cold, close enough to brush their necks. The Midnight Arrow began rolling forward. The wheels screamed, steam blasted. John grabbed JJ and sprinted. Sarah was right behind them. The train picked up speed. They leapt. John grabbed the railing. JJ clung to his waist. and they tumbled onto the back platform of the caboose. Behind them, from the tree line, the figure sprinted on all fours, inhumanly fast, closing the distance. It leapt for the rails. Its hand slammed onto the steps, nails like iron hooks gouging sparks. The thing couldn't get a grip and fell backwards onto the tracks, screaming without a mouth and fading into the darkness behind. The engineer looked out at the forest. The monster ran at full speed into the trees, his face drained into pale white. "That thing," he said quietly, "it ain't leaving, it's crossing." They didn't understand. "Crossing what?" Sarah asked. He pointed out the window, toward the dark forest sweeping along the hillside. "That slope curves for miles. Anything that fast could cut across the country and meet us again on the next straight." 20 minutes passed. JJ shouted, "There!" A shadow darted through the trees beside the moving train. Keeping pace, waiting, they formed a desperate plan. When it jumped aboard again, they would uncouple the last two carriages, leaving the monster stranded on a runaway set of empty cars. It was insane, but insanity was all they had left. The shadow vanished. Silence stretched. Then, a metallic clang from the back of the train. Another. Heavy. Deliberate. "It's climbing up to the roof," John whispered. The engineer braced himself near the coupling lever. John held a wrench. Sarah shielded JJ. The roof creaked. Something dragged itself overhead. Slow, scraping, like claws over gravestones. The lanterns flickered. The air turned ice cold. Then with a shriek like tearing steel, the thing dropped onto the rear platform, a twisted mass of shadow and bone, its head hanging as if broken. It lunged. The engineer hit the pin with his sledgehammer. The rear cars detached with a thunderous jolt. The monster fell backward, claws raking the metal, but the train surged forward, leaving the ghostly creature stranded on the runaway carriages as they rolled into the endless dark. The family held each other, too shocked to speak, too exhausted to cry. They had survived. At sunrise, the midnight arrow slowed as it neared Detroit. The engineer stepped out to check the train. That's when he froze. Car 7, the very last carriage they detached, was somehow connected again. No separation, no missing link, as if it had never been unhitched. The family never rode a train again. Railway workers still tell the story of a passenger who steps aboard only when the lamps are low and the night is cold enough to crack iron.